Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Starbucks, the Thursday edition. I am your host, Anthony DiNardo. We do have us, Jim Rosati, as always, except for yesterday.
Yeah,
No Wednesday morning, but happy Thursday, happy New Year's Eve, the last day of 2020. Something to truly celebrate right now. But Jim, how you doing, my man?
doing good, doing good. New Year's Eve. Yeah, let's get this year over with, right?
Get it out of here,
I
man.
can't imagine it can get worse than this. So
I mean, I'm sure it can because the moment you say that, something worse
that's
always happens, right?
right,
So
right.
don't jinx us,
Yeah,
Jim.
you're right.
You know what it is? I forgot all about this, and I'm not claiming this. I saw this on Twitter. But you remember last year, all you saw like this entire day was if you start Avengers Endgame at this amount of time, you'll see Thanos snap his fingers at midnight. What did that get us? What did that get us? I blame this all on that tweet. I blame this all on Avengers Endgame.
I mean, that's an interesting prediction. Because no other New Year did we have that.
No. Nope.
It,
Nope.
it could all be that. That could be the reason for everything.
I think it is. So don't do that ish this year, guys, because I'm already seeing the tweets out again. Don't do it. No Avengers Endgame. No Thanos snapping his fingers. You saw what happened. So, yeah, here we are. 2021 is about to come.
Or maybe do you have to do it again this year to like reverse the hex?
Damn it, Jim. I don't know.
Do you need to snap the fingers to bring it in and snap the fingers to bring it out?
Well, let's think. Who really saved us? Us. Who really saved everyone in Endgame? It was Iron Man, wasn't it?
I guess.
God, I
Yeah.
feel like everyone talked about that for so much, and now it's been so long since I've seen it, I kind of forget. It was Iron Man, right? So maybe do we have to watch Iron Man this year or something?
Maybe you watch Iron Man at the end. Yeah, and there's some moment in Iron Man that you can try to sync up with Midnight.
That would seem logical.
Yeah.
So maybe it's Iron Man. So everyone go ahead and watch Iron Man. I don't know at what point in time you need to see it at. I don't know what Iron Man has to do. Hopefully it doesn't sink us into a deeper level in 2021. But I think maybe you're onto something, Jim.
Yeah, something needs to be done to reverse all of this.
Okay. So what doesn't need to be done to reverse all this is buying 6 packs of Pokemon cards. Is that what you're saying? Or did that also reverse the curse?
Yeah, maybe that reversed the curse too.
Jim, all right. I know we talked a little bit about your baseball cards. You're getting me into baseball cards, but I love watching, your streams, you ripping up packs, seeing the different stuff you have. But yesterday you decided to not buy grown men on baseball cards. You bought some cartoons for $150 worth, you said, as you tweeted out.
Yeah.
All the poor kids who didn't get them on Christmas Day, right? They're so disappointed. They heard they're out there local Walmart. They rushed out there to get them, and they saw the big old grumpy man with his dirty-faced beard, as Bucko Mike likes to say and point out, right? They saw that old man walking by with them, and they cried to their moms.
That's exactly what happened.
But what did that get you?
Yeah, I got apparently a bunch of a bunch of Charizard cards apparently. So yeah, I don't know why they're worth so much money, but apparently they're like rare and people want them. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, but yeah, I just decided to open them all last night, and it worked out pretty well.
You got me. I mean, I'm making fun of you here. I'm making fun of you. And I want to run out and buy as many Pokemon cards as I can right now. Because when I saw you open that, I knew nothing of them, of course. But friend of the show, Cody Coleman, right? You can check him out too on his podcast here, Back to the Berg. But Cody Coleman apparently knows everything to know about Pokemon cards also. So I got to make fun of him a little bit behind the scenes now.
I'll tell you, without him, I would have been lost. I had no idea what I was doing. And he was kind of showing me the way.
And my, oh my, I watched the first part of your stream. And it was enjoyable because I mean, I think the funny part was no one knew what they were like seeing or watching, right? When
Right.
everyone watches you open up baseball cards, like, oh, that's Fernando Tatis Jr. That's awesome, right?
Mhm.
You're opening these cards and you're like, this is Chara Zoid. It looks shiny. your, your keyword last night. And
Yeah.
Cody's up there like, oh, that's $58. Oh, that's $1,000. Oh, that's only like $2. I'm like, what the hell? Like in a minute,
Yeah.
in a minute's time, I felt like you earned your money back from the boxes, and then you earned some more. And now I feel foolish that I'm making fun of you, and you're out there hitting jackpots.
Yeah. I don't know what to say. I mean, I was looking for baseball cards at Walmart and they didn't have any. And so I saw the Pokemon cards and I was like, screw it. Let's buy them all.
Well, now you got plenty of money to buy some some baseball cards.
Right. Or maybe more Pokemon cards. Who knows? I have no idea.
Sounds it. That's what I'm gonna do here. But all right, so enough of that because I'm jealous mainly. But enough of that. Let's move on into what we were supposed to talk yesterday before we both slept in. The I guess we can go ahead and discuss and dive into some Josh Bell first. I know I saved a little bit of Padres information because I know how much you love the Padres too, Jim. So I saved that a little bit. And I think there's something we can use in regards to the Pirates, of course, to spin that too. But did you want to talk Bell first, or do you want to talk your beloved Pirates or Padres?
Let's talk about Bell first.
Okay.
Yeah, I know you and Tyler had your emergency podcast. So you all kind of discussed it a little bit, but I was shocked. I mean, first off, it was like a Christmas Eve news dump. I don't know what was happening there. Like it was like 2:00 on Christmas Eve. Trade hit. But like I was surprised. Like I said, I was not expecting Josh Bell to get traded this offseason. I did not think it was going to happen. I felt like his value was too low, and that he was better suited to stay on the team. I don't know if it had more to do with the offer was better than maybe Charrington expected to get from him for him, or maybe this was something from higher up, and they were like, "Hey, we need to trim payroll even more." I don't know why you would need to trim payroll even more from where it is right now, but I have no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, our payroll's dangerously low right now. It's
Woke up
really,
feeling dangerously low.
yeah, it's embarrassing. But yeah, I was surprised. And here's the thing: like the trade itself is not. It's very underwhelming. It's an underwhelming trade. It's not something that's like exciting by any means. The guys the Pirates got back are fine. I mean, Will Crow isn't really a prospect anymore. He's technically one, but he's 26 years old. He's probably going to be a back end of the rotation guy for a bad team or a reliever. Like that's what he's going to be. But guess what? We're a bad team, so he's probably going to slate into that fourth or fifth starter role for us. Eddie Yean is a little bit more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Younger guy, very projectable, excellent stuff. Apparently at his young age, throwing high 90s already at age 19.
Right.
So I think that's someone to kind of get a little bit more excited about. He kind of reminds me maybe of, maybe like a little shorter version of Tanaj Thomas, from a stuff standpoint. But someone that the Pirates got young, didn't really have a ton of experience pitching here in stateside. So I think I like that acquisition. Again, young arm, lively arm. Who knows? They said the one problem the Pirates have had in the past is developing international pitchers. It's something that they really have struggled with, and they have two in their system right now that looked pretty promising.
Right.
With
Right.
that addition of Yeen. I do want to touch on just Josh Bell in general, though, too. The reason why the Josh Bell trade, which ultimately was going to happen at some point, I'm just surprised it happened early. That ultimately it was going to be underwhelming for Pirates fans, and
Understandably, right?
there it didn't matter what. Like we weren't going to get back what we hope and like want Josh Bell to be able to get back. And the reason is because Josh Bell, he's been a major part of this. I mean, really, he was drafted in 2011, 2012. I mean, he's been in the organization for 8 years, right? So we know a lot about Josh Bell. Like we know when he was drafted, he was the guy who sent the letter to all the major league teams saying, "Don't draft me, don't draft me." The Pirates drafted him and signed him with a huge bonus. Made his way through the minors, kind of, was always, showing the tools that he could hit and play, but he didn't really always put it together in the minor league, especially in the higher levels. When he got to the majors, he busts into the major leagues with that grand slam against the Cubs. And I think right at that point, people just like, this guy's awesome. Like, right. And he became like an instant fan favorite. He had an excellent personality. He seems like he's a great guy, like someone who's super easy to root for. And so that's kind of what makes the whole deal, a little like you're sad. He was a part of this organization for so long, and he accomplished some good things with us. I mean, that first half of 2019. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen a first half like that before of a Pirate.
Right. I mean, you could arguably say anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what he was doing in 19.
Right. I mean, there were all these comparisons saying like no Pirate's ever done this since Willie Stargell. Like half of the things he was doing. So
right.
And he had an unbelievable first half of 2019, and the unfortunate part is that was the outlier. We remember that first half as in, okay, well, this is what he can do. But when you kind of look at the overall body of work, that's not what he did. He did that for a first half of 2019, and that was it.
Yeah.
So I think that's why this trade seems underwhelming, because we look at this guy who, hey, he was on pace for 150 RBIs and 60 home runs in 2019. And we traded him for two pitchers who no one's ever heard of, right? So it sucks in that regard. I want to see him succeed. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you make a good point too. Like putting in that perspective, he was the big time prospect. He came up and, what a moment to make your entrance into the Pirates amongst fans and such. But I think you're right. It's like we've always knew it was there. Like, Josh Bell is going to be a good player. You're pulling for it, and then you saw it in 19. And, of course, the counting numbers make 2019 look very good. And I'm not here. I hate to do this because I feel like we're coming out like have to bash the man. And by no means do I want to bash it. Just I want to put perspective on it. And I think the same with you and what we're trying to do here. We're not trying to bash Josh Bell and say, oh, this is a good trade because he was bad, he was terrible. But when you look at his body of work, like you're saying, it really is the first half of 2019. It was always potential. It was always you're seeing spurts of it, but then he has this long, drawn out, month or so where he just can't do anything. He can't hit nothing. He's up there, as Tyler loves to call him, twinkle toes, I think. But like always, like you're always waiting for the potential, and then in 19 you saw it. So I think Pirate fans, like you're saying, are more or less like it's here, and well, it's 2020, it's a weird year, wipe it out. Like this is Josh Bell of 19, but when you really look at the numbers, Josh Bell of 19 wasn't even Josh Bell of 19. Josh Bell was a Jekyll and Hyde of that year, and it was just like you were saying, that first half that you saw was just so great that when he once again became a very average player, it still makes his year look very, very productive and good. But the reality is, 2020 did come. You could arguably say he was the worst Pirate, and there was a guy named Miguel DePozo on the team. But you could argue. I'm not saying he was, but you could argue the point that he was the worst player. You could argue the point he was one of the top 10 worst players in baseball. Period. So that is a concern, and that's why I say once again, like how you as a Pirate fan feel about Josh Bell, which is a lot of potential. You knew something was there, and now you finally saw it. Partly in 19. You as a Nationals fan, you're right, or a Nationals GM. What do you really want to give up for? Well, I know there's something in there we got to unlock. Like if you have to unlock something to make him a good player, are you willing to give up premium stuff to get that? Because that's a risk. And if you're a team is a good team like the Pirates, right? You are a good team, so you want production. You want stuff that is there. Are you willing to say, here's our top prospect for that? Especially a corner infielder?
If he's even that. And then that kind of goes
right.
And that kind of goes into this whole thing. Like, if the National League's not going to adopt a designated hitter, Josh Bell's not that big of a help to your team. Like, I'm sorry. Even in 2019, when he had the numbers that he did, and like I said, don't get me wrong, the first half carried him, and he did struggle in the second half. But overall, the numbers were good. He had 135 weighted runs created plus, right? So 35% better than your average hitter.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at the defense, he basically took away almost all the offense he provided on the defensive end. And I think he's one of the guys that you could say, okay, the metrics kind of agree with the eye test. No one's watching Josh Bell at first base and thinking he's good at that position.
Right.
He's someone who he needs to be a DH, honestly. Like, he just straight up needs to be a designated hitter. I am a little surprised that the Nationals were the team to apparently, offer the best deal for Josh Bell, because I feel like he would be much more valuable on an American League team. But yeah, here we are. I like the guy. I hope he can hit. At the end of the day, he wasn't going to be a contributor to the next winning Pirates team.
Mm-hmm.
So this was inevitable. I get people being a little upset with the return.
Right.
But I think if you just look at the overall body of work of what Josh Bell has done, you can't say that this trade isn't fair. I mean, this is a more than fair value trade for Josh Bell, in my opinion.
I agree. And I think it's good we're talking about it again. We've had to give, some time, let the dust settle. Mm-hmm. Tyler and I did go on rather quickly. We wanted to get something out there. We did look over the trade. It wasn't just immediate reaction. But what I'll say is the direction of the show, especially like me listening back to it, and I know Ryan even said it too, I feel like we left Yeen out of it quite a bit. We talked a lot about Crow, and I know like the trade wasn't for Crow by any means. It was for Yeen. Like, Yeen is the prospect you want out of this. Again, I feel kind of dumbfounded, like why Crow probably could have just got somebody else. Yeen is the guy, and like everything you said is true. He is young. He's got a lot of stuff. There's some promise in there, but we'll have to see. But you are right. And still, like I said, the trade is fair. When you evaluate the trade, the type of prospects you're getting, the type of stuff in return you're getting, I just, again, like wish instead of Crow, a lesser prospect that has some upside to him is what I would have rather have seen, is what I was getting at then. But yeah, Yeen, I mean, just even just a Yeen for Josh Bell isn't a bad trade.
No.
No. Like we said about Josh Bell, what is he really giving? He's a corner infielder. Something I put together here as well, just to kind of look again like what Josh Bell has done. I'm not saying these are comps like this is Josh Bell. Some are a little bit older, some are about the same age. There's a little bit of differences in some, but for the most part, they're about the same production. Put them here up on the screen. They have their stats, but some guys that were very similar numbers to Josh Bell over the last 4 years when Josh Bell, we'll take out his first year because 150, just right under the rookie of the year numbers, right? He's very sparingly. I took out that first year, so his first full season in the big leagues. So the past 4 years, when you look at Josh Bell's numbers, the value he's provided, some guys are very similar to that. Justin Bour, Eric Thames, Trey Mancini, and Justin Smoke. Part of the reason I want to do this is, I mean, again, like the very similar type of numbers. For the most part, they're first basemen. They walk a good amount. They don't strike out a ton. The power is still, ish there. They're not the best defenders for the most part. But, like, when you look at them, and I'm mentioning these names, right? The names of Justin Bour, Eric Thames, Trey Mancini, and Justin Smoke. Do any of those names stand out to you, Jim?
I mean, I think Trey Mancini is okay.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably the best player on the Orioles. Which isn't saying a ton,
right? It's like saying, whoever,
yeah,
the best player for the Pirates right now.
No, I think I said not all of them were different. I mean, we're looking at people who are of different ages and things like that. But I think what you're going with this is, two of them aren't even going to be in Major League Baseball next year. That
is true. And it's funny you say like where I'm going with this. This was done before this, those deals even happened. I actually did this like the day after or 2 days after the trade was done or whatever. But it's funny how I did create this. And then, as you mentioned, yes, Eric Thames just signed a $1.2 million deal for Japan yesterday. And I think Justin Smoke signed a $6 million deal 2 days before to go overseas. So, yeah, this is kind of showing, like, I know they're older than Josh Bell, so I get it. It's not the same sense in that sense, but this is the production they provided, and MLB is looking at this production of those players and saying, we're good.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Major League Baseball basically passed on them.
Right.
And Josh Bell was traded for a pretty high upside young pitcher and someone who's going to play on a bad team. So,
right. Yep.
It's interesting. I said I think there's still something left in Josh Bell offensively. Like I think he can be fixed. Defensively, I think he cannot be fixed. Like I think he's done defensively as a baseball player. If you trot him out there, you are just asking for runs to be given up. But I think he can still hit. He's 28, so he still has some his prime ahead of him. I think he can figure it out at the plate again.
Right. Well, you're hitting on the head. Like that's the thing there. That's why you got that return for Josh Bell. That's why Josh Bell brings a return even is because there's belief that there is still something there. So I'm not going to give up premium prospects for it, but I'll give up a Yeen and a Crow to take my chances on Josh Bell. Because again, like what Josh Bell has given you is essentially this, and like think about this. Justin Bour, although a little bit older, I mean, he would have been 30 at the time he was traded, but Justin Bour is traded from the Marlins to the Phillies with 2 years of arbitration left remaining, much like Josh Bell. He was traded for essentially nothing. They got a non-top 30 prospect for it. They got money in the return for the Marlins. And that was Justin Bour, who was having a productive season at the time for the Marlins and was coming off of a year where he had a productive season. And like they got nothing for him. And you look at, Justin Bour, albeit many less plate appearances, but that's fine. Let's look at the numbers. His walk rate, 12.3. Josh Bell's 11.9. His strikeout rate, 23. Josh Bell's 19. Right, batted 248, on base 341, slugged 456, 112 weighted runs created plus. He had basically the same WAR and almost half the plate appearances, right? 3.6 WAR, Josh Bell 3.5 because his defense was bad too, but much better than Josh Bell's. That speaks volumes too because Bour was a terrible defender. But it's like when you look at these guys, like Eric Thames is also a good example. It's like not the greatest defender, but he had a bat. This is what you're getting, and these guys aren't getting you anything. So the reason you're even getting a deal for Josh Bell is because there's potential there. People still believe in it. If Josh Bell breaks out and is a good hitter once again this year, I'm not going to be shocked, but I'm not going to go back in this trade and say, "Oh, the Pirates did it again." I mean, this is the value Josh is bringing you, because he very well could go there
Mm-hmm.
and not as well, you know. But the thing is, even if it
Mm-hmm.
does become a good hitter, is the defense going to offset it as well? We'll find out.
Yeah, again, and honestly, I'm trying to even think. Like I said, the value on this is, like I said, I don't want to get people excited. Like it's not a great trade, but it's a very fair trade. And looking at it, like I said, what I thought they were going to do was I thought they were going to hold on to Bell, play him this year, see what happens, so hopefully build some value back up. But had they done that, and say he started hitting, and then at the deadline you maybe flip him, he's got one less year of control then at that point, and I don't know if he brings you much more than what they got.
Yeah,
Like as far as I mean, we've seen, like you just mentioned what these guys have gotten in returns. If Josh Bell puts up these type of numbers that he has during his career, and instead of last year's numbers where he was one of the worst players in baseball, yeah, there's probably a team that will trade for him, but are they going to give you a top 10 prospect for him? I don't know. I don't know if the answer to that is yes. Darvish just got traded to the San Diego Padres and they didn't get any top 10 prospect. Like, well, they did, but they got one. like
we won't go there.
so it's like, how much your team's going to give up for someone for a year and 2 months of Josh Bell.
And again, at a corner position, like let's even look back. Like Nick Castellanos having an amazing year with Detroit. What did he get traded for? When JD Martinez was having an amazing year, what did he get traded for? Nothing. Because they're corner guys. They can hit, bad defense. Yeah, they're tradable. They'll help a team, but teams aren't willing to give up prospects for those type of people. You can find them anywhere. That's how many are viewed. And guys much like Eric Thames and Justin Smoke going overseas because they can't even find jobs because there's so many plentiful options you can use for corner guys and such. So yeah, again, it's just unfortunate. Like this is what Josh Bell is, and that's why it's a fair trade. It's a very meh trade, but again, it speaks more to what Josh Bell has produced more than anything at this point. So all right. Did you get Josh Bell out of your system?
Yeah, I think we did.
All right. So, your Padres, Jim. Your Slam Diego Padres.
Diego
Padres. Man. AJ Preller just taking the league by storm. What are your thoughts? You got the floor, Jim.
Well, I think they clearly... They're going for the Dodgers. Like they realize, hey, you know what? We are in the same division as this just super mega team. We are now in a position that we have these uber talented individuals on our team, and they do. I mean, they've got some of the most exciting people in baseball, most talented people in baseball already, and they're just saying, let's go for it. And they're being so they're executing at an unbelievable level. They're acquiring these guys. They're acquiring these premier elite talented guys from other teams, and they're really not having to give up anything. They're giving up. I mean, don't get me wrong. They're giving up prospects, and they're good prospects. The Padres farm system is just absolutely loaded. So think when the Padres were giving up their number 7 prospect, that's going to be like a number 2 or 3 on most teams.
Mm-hmm.
But like and I mentioned this in our group chat. Like I haven't seen a total organizational rebuild like the Padres have done that was just executed so perfectly. Maybe the Astros had like a really successful rebuild earlier on this decade, but the Padres, you got to give it to them. Like they rebuilt this team, and they have hit on every move. Just being able to
Yeah.
just being able to acquire and just pour talent into their organization, both from a minor league level, right? They're pouring people into their minor leagues that are eventually coming up to the majors, but on a major league level too. I mean, they are bringing in elite major league players that are like just the absolute game changers. You just look in the last 5 months, right? Last 5 months, they've acquired just on their pitching staff, Clevenger, who unfortunately is going to be out all next year.
Right.
But they acquired Clevenger for, I think they gave up one top 10 prospect for Clevenger.
Yeah, and
actually,
theoretically, I don't think he was technically
any.
deemed a prospect at the time, right?
Yeah, it was Quantrill. Yeah, so he had already graduated. So no top 10 prospects for Clevenger. You do deal, a talented young arm, but you're getting back Mike Clevenger. So
right. But also, I mean, what it does is it shows, even though he's major league at the time and not technically a prospect, he was expendable.
Yeah.
Like, that's the trade-off. All right, so we lose him, and here's Clevenger.
Right. So, and then they lose Clevenger, right, to injury. And so they're like, okay, well, let's just replace him with Blake Snell.
That's all.
Who is a Cy Young winner, and is a really, really good pitcher. And then the next day,
there's more.
Was it the next day or was it 2 days?
It was.
I think it was the next day.
Yeah. No, it was the same day.
Okay.
Yeah, it was that night. It actually, I mean, not officially, but it happened that night.
Then they're like, oh, let's go get Yu Darvish, who probably could have won a Cy Young last year. So they just added two legit aces. And I'm not talking they didn't add two top of the rotation guys. They added two aces in a day. And they gave up one top 10 prospect. Luis Patino is, definitely, talent going out of the organization, but they've done such a good job of just stockpiling talent at all levels that they can afford to do this. Snell still has some years left on his deal. So these guys aren't these guys aren't rentals. These are people who are going to help them this year and next year when Mike Clevenger's back. So,
that's the scariest part about this.
Think of 2022. They're going to have Clevenger, Darvish, Snell, Paddock, Lamet, and Gore is still just chilling there in AAA as the best pitcher in minor league baseball.
How bad do you feel for Mackenzie Gore? I mean, honestly, you have to feel bad for him at this point, don't you? How can you be such a talent, looked at as, possibly the best pitcher in baseball? You're just flaunting your stuff. You're coming in with the Conor McGregor walk. You're just strutting through the clubhouse like, I'm the big dog. I'm going to be big dog in San Diego. And now you're like, wait a minute. There might be 5 guys better than me on this club right now. How am I fighting for a spot? This is supposed to be mine. This is mine to take. You got to tell me I got to fight? This is crazy. And that's not just for this year. Like you mentioned, this could be next year as well. Are we not going to see, Gore till 2023?
Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, with the way the pitchers go down, we'll see Gore in 2021. I don't really have it's there. But
probably not opening day.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's one of those things. You look at the staff, and is Mackenzie Gore even in the rotation? I don't even know.
Think you're the Pittsburgh Pirates. You have Mackenzie Gore. You're thinking ace. We got our ace. You're hoping opening day comes out, and he's going to be our number 2 pitcher. By next year, he's our next Garrett Cole. We're going to ride with Mackenzie Gore. But now you're the Padres, and you're like, it's Mackenzie Gore. Maybe he'll make the club.
Exactly. So they have just loaded up on talent.
You're hoping, pitching. If the Pirates get and draft Rocker, you're hoping Rocker becomes a Mackenzie Gore.
Oh yeah, that would be a great thing.
And that's what Mackenzie Gore fits in the Padres system right now.
Yeah, so it's they've done that, and then on the offensive level, they've done a couple of things. One is, and I think really what they've done is, and we talk about the Pirates here, and they have a total lack of organizational depth at the catcher position. The Padres are just absolutely loaded. The Padres probably have 4 catchers on their team that could start Major League Baseball, and they've been able to utilize those to land some of these guys without having to give up top prospects. Because with Mejia going to Tampa Bay and that deal, that's someone where Mejia probably starts on most teams. But he's like 3rd or 4th on the depth chart in San Diego. So having, and teams are always looking for catchers. So having catching depth that you can trade has helped them, hold on to these really high upside guys in their organization. They haven't had to deal with their top prospects because of the depth that they've had at that position. So I that's kind of been an interesting thing that I've noticed that they've done. And then they just acquired Caratini was in the Darvish deal too, right?
Yep. His personal catcher.
Yeah. So Caratini comes over, he'll be the backup to Nola, I would assume, next year. And then they still have Campusano just sitting there. So it's
that's what, everything you said is absolutely true. I mean, they've hit so much, but what just boggles my mind is, yes, they've given up a lot of farm, right? They've given up prospects, a lot of prospect capital per se, but it's like none of the elite, none of the game changers. Patino was one with the Snell deal. Like that one, that's a good prospect. Like in no deal did you really look at it and say, oh, that one stung. Right? The Snell one would really be the only one, because Patino's a really good pitcher as well. Trammell, prospect-wise, he was ranked up there with the Nola one, but I know you really talked about him last I keep saying year, it was like 4 months ago, but last year.
Right.
But he was a very risky prospect. So it's like, that one doesn't really sting. We have a good team as it is. They've given up a lot of players, a lot of people, but none really stung. I mean, to go through this entire phase where, like you mentioned, you got all those aces and you still have a Gore, you still have an Abrams, you still have Campusano. Like, that is what amazes me. Because if you can get those people for the prospects you gave up, then even if Abrams is in your plan, what the hell who are you giving Abrams for then? I mean, are you trading Abrams for, Mike Trout? Is that what he brings in? Because you've got all these other guys and you have to touch those players. So, man.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think that Abrams eventually is a trade chip. Unless he moves, or maybe eventually Tatis moves to second. I don't know. I don't think Tatis is going anywhere for the foreseeable future. Yeah, Abrams could probably move. He's young enough. He's versatile. But yeah, it's just insane just what they've been able to accomplish this past year. And really, it all started with it was last offseason. Right. So last offseason, they did deal another major, that when they traded Xavier Edwards, slapstick prospect, right, for Tommy Pham, which is funny now because now Snell is on this. He's back on the same team with him, right? San Diego. So you got Xavier Edwards went over, so that was a legit prospect for Pham. But you bring over Tommy Pham, who is one of the best on base guys in baseball. When you have the bats that San Diego have, you get people on base and they're going to score. So it's just an incredibly, it's an incredible rebuild job that San Diego's done to construct this roster. And you just look at it really top to bottom at this point. You got Manny Machado at third base, who, maybe a future Hall of Famer, Manny Machado.
And I think people still forget how young he is, just because he was up here so young.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, he's the same age as Jameson Taillon. They were drafted back to back.
Right. Like he's still
I
got
mean,
years of
yep.
good baseball ahead of him, likely.
Yeah. So you've got Machado, you got Tatis, you have the Cronenworth, who amazing rookie year, just came out of nowhere.
And now he's like looking
I,
at an odd man out.
yeah. Does he even
He's got
play
to
next
slide to
year?
the outfield, likely.
Because another thing that we didn't mention is that on top of this, they signed the number one guy, the number one international guy,
Yeah.
Ha-Sung Kim, right?
Yep.
Shortstop out of the KBO. They signed him to a 4-year, $25 million deal. Yeah, so he's got to. I mean, does he get slated in as their regular second baseman?
It sounds like, yeah, what they're going for is he'll be second in. Cronenworth will be left field, taking over where Profar was, which, by the way, they had Profar last year, had a really good season. And now the rookie of the year, candidate's going to be out there instead, which, like, this offense was already packing a punch last year. And it very well could be even better this year.
Yeah, so just absolutely crazy. I mean, that what they've been able to do. So we'll see how that works. I mean, it took Jung Ho Kang a little bit of time to kind of adjust here. So I don't know if he'll be like the opening day starting second baseman for the Padres, but I'm sure we'll see him at some point in a large role next year if he adapts well. But yeah, it's just what they've been able to do. And then the outfield is still stacked. I mean, you had gosh, I'm trying to. Hosmer finally learned how to hit the ball in the air. So like if you got Eric Hosmer hitting home runs now, you got Tatis just being otherworldly. You have Machado, who is a premier talent. They're
Austin Nola now over there too, who loves to hit the ball.
Yeah, they're not far off from the Dodgers. I mean, even the pitching alone may have caught them up, honestly.
Yeah. That's the debate. I know a lot of people were saying it's still not as good as the Dodgers. It's arguable now. Like last year I felt like I kind of mentioned on my show, like they were a fun story, right? But I don't think they were super legit. Clevenger made them legit. And now, with the moves they made this year, I think it's an argument. Let's play it out. That's how we're going to find out. You can argue it all day right now on paper. I think you can support both sides. You can easily say the Dodgers are better, and I think you can say the Padres, potentially got better. So it's going to be fun to watch because the Dodgers are a hell of a team. So to say maybe San Diego caught up to them and there's a battle there, that's going to be fun to see. Because to be honest, Jim, there's not going to be many fun games in the NL Central this year.
Yeah, what are they doing?
Nothing. They're getting very, very bad. We don't have a whole lot of time here, I know, but yeah, they spin this to the Pirates, right? Like, let's look at them. I mean, this would be like the fantastic rebuild the Pirates, could accomplish here. They don't have the stars that like the Padres had in their farm, but the Pirates are in a rebuild. Let's talk about a little bit here, and I'm gonna blame someone for this too. Kevin, right, gone posting on Twitter, just blew my mind because he put out, and his poll was out there, I think, a few months ago, and he redid it yesterday or 2 days ago, more or less saying when are the Pirates going to be able to compete again, right? It's going to be 2021, 2022, 23, or 24 later, right? And it really had me thinking because, Jim, when you look at the landscape of the NL Central right now, everybody's rebuilding. I mean, no one's calling it out as a rebuild, but everyone's rebuilding at this point in time. Literally every team. So if every team is doing this now when the Pirates are, I can look at it and say, well, all the teams are bad. So there's a potential the Pirates could escalate their, they're the first to rebuild. Maybe theirs gets escalated with all the bad teams at NL Central. They become not so much better, but like by default better, and they can make the playoffs quicker. But I don't know, Jim. At the same time, if all these teams are doing this, are the Pirates going to find themselves in a situation where the NL Central is super strong and a super elite division once again, kind of like when it was back in the day, right? When the Pirates are good and you had the Reds there, you had the Cardinals there, you had the Brewers there for a little bit. The Cubs started coming up then. Like, is this going to be a very, very elite division once the Pirates are good again? And now all Pirate fans can just be sad and cry again? Like, why does this have to happen to us, right?
Um, yeah, I don't know. I think looking at the rest of the, like, you did kind of bring up a point. The Pirates got kind of a head start to the rebuild process. Um, you look at, top to bottom organization wise across the division, the Pirates probably have stockpiled the most talent in the minor leagues out of anyone else. The other farm systems in the division really aren't that great. No top 10 prospects in the NL Central, right? No, there's one top 20, and that's Dylan Carlson, who's already graduated. No, that brings up a good point. I think a team like the Cardinals, are never really going to go into a full-on rebuild. So the Cardinals are never going to just give up their major league team, right? We've seen the Cubs do it before, and it worked for them. So I don't know if they're maybe going to try that approach again, which means, we could see 3 to 4 years of the Cubs just absolutely going back to being garbage.
That would be fun.
Yeah, we've seen the Reds do it, but even kind of to like a half extent. We've never seen the Reds do like a full-out rebuild. They always kind of have this like half in, half-out approach. Milwaukee, we've seen kind of do it, and they've been successful at it. So they've shown that they can do it. But again, these teams, they're not in the same position as the Pirates as far as the amount of talent that they've been able to bring into the organization up to this point. Yes, it'll be interesting. It's a good question. I never really thought of it that way. Does maybe the NL Central not being good for the next 3 years or so mean that when this talent that the Pirates do have reaches the majors, they can succeed a little bit quicker? I mean, it's a point that makes sense. I don't think the Pirates are going to have the talent to do anything in 2021 or 2022, right? So I think you're looking at 2023 as like that earliest possible year. I'm kind of looking at, if I'm looking at this from like Huntington's rebuild, right? I feel like 2023 could be like the Pirates 2012.
Yes.
Where like they kind of, they looked like they were going to finally get over the hump, and then they just kind of crashed at the end, right? If the NL Central isn't that good in 2023, does the crash not happen?
They could get in. That's what I'm kind of thinking. Yeah, that's a very good possibility. Is they could really not be a true playoff team, but they get in because everyone else is so bad.
Yeah, I think realistically, like if we're looking at this from like a realistic approach, 2024 is the year that we can kind of target, But as you mentioned, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. If the other teams, we have to see what the other teams do. I mean, everything could change year by year. But it looks like the Cubs are going to, like, I doubt in 2023 the Cubs have Chris Bryant.
Oh, no.
They probably won't have Rizzo, right? Baez is probably like the only guy that they'll lock up on that team, if I had to guess. So,
if that, I mean,
they could, and maybe
he rebounds this year. That's a big chip that they can get some good prospects for.
So, it's an interesting question. So it could speed it up a little bit. It could speed it up a little bit. I mean, it's possible.
It's like I could see, like you're saying, like I could see, that year the Pirates make the playoffs more or less because the NL Central isn't as good. They're a little bit above everyone, but then like the following year, you're looking around and just saying like, well, I don't know, like we really got to fight to even make it because it's like everyone else now has become good again, and it's going to be a battle where maybe the two best teams in NL come from the Central again, where it's the Cardinals and Pirates. Like it was before, right? Like the Pirates, I joked to someone, the Pirates are going to win 97 games one year and get the second wild card.
Yeah. Like I think if the the team to worry about, for the immediate future is still the Cardinals. They're an incredibly well-run organization. They have enough talent in their minor leagues to to keep them afloat. Like they don't have a terrible system. They've got some young guys who are like right on the brink with Liberatore and Carlson.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like the Cardinals really won't have a quote unquote rebuild, right? Maybe there's just going to be more like a reload, but it looks like 2021 is just going to be down for everybody.
Yeah. I would say I'm with you, like the Cardinals, and I would say maybe the Brewer-ish because like they still have Yelich. Yelich is a fantastic talent. Himself could probably win the NL Central right now based on the teams around. But yeah, like the Reds, no. Cubs, no. Pirates, definitely not. So, and again, like the Cardinals and Brewers, it's not like they're great. It's not like they're good teams. It's you got to look at them, worry about them by like default right now. So yeah, the NL Central is gonna be terrible next year, just absolutely terrible. So yeah, can't wait for those games. We should have the 60-game season this upcoming year.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be. I guess. I mean, who knows? Maybe we actually win some games because we're playing the NL Central.
That's not the goal, Jim. That's not the goal.
I know it's not the goal, but like you look at this year, right? I don't think the Pirates NL Central record was all that terrible. It was when they played the AL Central, they got stomped.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually want to look this up. Like, what was our record against the NL Central?
I want to say I agree with you because even to like the bad teams in AL Central, I don't feel like we won. Like the Tigers, didn't they pretty much beat us up?
Mm-hmm. So I mean, so the Pirates were 16-24 against the NL Central.
It's not good, but it's not. So, based on what the record was,
not good. But they were 3-17 against the AL. 16-24 against the NL. 3-17 against the AL.
Wow.
That's so bad.
Now they have Will Crow, so they're good.
Will Crow to the rescue. Pirates were 2-10 against left-handed starting pitchers last year. I don't know if that means anything or if we just, we're terrible. You know what it was? 2-10 against lefties means no Polanco in the lineup.
Yeah,
you got to have Polanco in there.
That's definitely what it was, Jim.
Well, I think that's all I got.
Yeah, same here. Don't hate on the Pirate system right now. I'll just say that, kind of reiterate as well as we're talking about the Padres. They don't have the top premier talent, but the Pirate system is definitely getting deeper. It's definitely acquiring talent for sure. Yeah, we don't have like the Cutchin here yet. Like the stars aren't here yet, but it's deep. So hopefully those will come. I guess Happy New Year's Eve, everybody. Jim, Happy New Year's Eve. Happy getting 2020 out the door here.
Happy New Year's to everybody. Yes.
And let's go watch Iron Man.
Let's do it.
All right. We're out of here. We'll see you all this. Actually, this is the last show of 2020 itself too. So I guess there you go.
See you next year.
We'll see you guys in 2021. Don't do that, Jim. Don't do that. We're out. Bye-bye.
Later.